Patrick Hennessy says, I have noticed on some of your builds that you leave extra space, like the nails in the Staples build and the little cabinet you build with the inward-facing lights. Why is that? Also, what is going to happen to the pliers rack? Well, the pliers rack it's ongoing. Something will happen to the pliers rack, but I don't know what yet. So something will happen. But that extra space, that was hard won to learn to do that. Because there's nothing worse than setting up an organizational system of A to Z and discovering that there are letters on beyond zebra. That is what a shop is like. It's like discovering that there are more letters to the alphabet than you realized. So I have learned over the years to not make a rack that holds the things that I have. It's a rack to hold the things that I need. Some of which I have, some of which I may have. So when I set up the hammers behind me there, I included a half a dozen extra slots, and it's so nice. And it turns out when I sent a picture of that to Tom Sachs, he informed me that that has a term of art name at Jet Propulsion Labs. At JPL, when they build a storage system that includes space for stuff that doesn't exist yet, they call the extra space baby fat. It's freaking fantastic. That is one of my favorite industrial terms. It simply means that is fat. This is an extra space that will get absorbed as the shop matures, just like your baby fat. It is a perfect metaphor. Baby fat, man, that's why. As for the pliers rack, here's what's happening in my head around pliers. I've been doing so much more jewelry work lately. Specifically on the crown jewels. This is the new scepter. We haven't put this video up yet, have we? No. This is my new scepter. It now lights so that I can offer wishes to everyone. You get a wish, and you get a wish, and you get a wish, and you get a wish. I've been doing so much jewelry work, and jewelry requires some really specific sets of pliers. So much so that I don't keep my jewelry pliers in the in the general population of pliers. They're in a drawer. And that's not the best place for them. So I've been realizing that I might need a rolling jewelry cart, just like I have a rolling soldering cart. And that the jewelry cart would include things like my ceramic brazing platforms for soldering costume jewelry together, the materials I might need for other parts of that, the high temperature, low temperature solder, the syringe solder, the chip solder, all the pickles, sorry. The glue pots, the pickles. I just bought some repoussé chasing stuff. My ambition exceeds the amount of time I have in a day. But I'm slowly moving toward. So on a jeweler's workbench, they often have a wonderful system where there's just like a brass or a metal strap. And all the pliers are just stood on that. So you can just grab whatever you need while you need it. That's even faster than retrieving from my ladder of pliers. But that doesn't belong on the workbench, but it might belong adjacent to the workbench. Again, these are the things I'm thinking. Baby fat. The trick is always to leave baby fat. When I said earlier that I have 53 Sortimos and I'm going to end up with 60, I only have 3 extras to fill in my head right now, but I'm accommodating for an extra several just to make sure that when I need a 5th costume jewelry box, I'm on 4 now. I have space for it. I need a couple more for lighting. I need a couple more for switches. There are categories that are doubled up, but also there's bulk storage. So Sortimo shouldn't be for bulk storage of large items like switches. You're just hearing me workshop this in my head in real time. Dark lightly. Oh, wait. This is a question whose asker remains lost to time. Hold on. That's all right. Okay, so here's a person who says, I am not a handy person, but I am a writer. How do you organize your written materials like books? Is there an organizational system you use to keep reference materials accessible and handy? Why, yes, there is. It is also in flux, but largely I'm blessed that we bought this house in 2010 with a library in it. It is such a beautiful room. I feel so lucky to have it. And when we moved in, we almost filled it right away. We had enough books to fill it. I'm a lifelong avid reader. My wife has a bachelor's in English, a master's in poetry, and also psychotherapy. So here are some of the categories we have in our library. We have fiction. That's all upstairs on one big bookshelf, all of our fiction. But it's not all of the fiction, because science fiction has its own section, so does mystery. There's nonfiction, which is almost the whole library downstairs, and that includes film, art books, politics books, biography, that's a huge section, history, psychology. Psychology is 20 linear feet of, actually, God, it's probably more like 50 linear feet of books. Poetry, another one in which, because again, my partner has a master's in poetry, tons of poetry books. I also already had a bunch. When we joined our libraries, there were several things like the complete works of T.S. Eliot that we gave away one of because we had two of them. Then there's my specific libraries of comic books. I got a ton of old school comic books, new school stuff that I like, stuff that I grew up on. Making books, the Maker Library. Magic books, I have a fairly reasonable magic library. And billiards books. I have over 85 books on billiards going back to 1882. Now, in regards to comic books, making, magic, billiards, and film, those are all coming over to the cave or going to the Tesset offices. I feel like I have them in several spaces around my life and they need to all come together. The Maker books are already all at Tesset's offices and that's really awesome. That's my reference library. The specific technique making books around things like brasswork and welding, that comes to here, and I'm still not sure exactly where it lives. There's a lot of books to move around. We also do a cull every couple of years. We go through and just pull, it always ends up being a stack about this big of books to give away. And we'll just put them by the front door and ask people to look them over as they're leaving. If they want to take any, they can. I would love to set up one of those little libraries. In San Francisco, if you're in a neighborhood like the Mission, which is where I live, such things tend to get beaten up. And also this, yeah. I've always wanted to set one up. Of course, if I did it, I would do a build about it, and then I put it in front of my house, and that's not good security. I don't desire to show everyone exactly where I live. But what am I going to do? Put a library somewhere else in the neighborhood that I've got to go upkeep it? It's killing me, actually. But that is how we organize our written materials like books. Again, the goal is that everything's where you think it should be so that you can go find it when you want to talk about it. I have a library. Only part of the reason for having a library is to read those books again. A lot of it is to reference stuff while I'm talking about it and also to give them away. Frankly, every time I find a Raymond Chandler book at a garage sale, I buy it because I love nothing more than saying, you haven't read Raymond Chandler? Here, take The Big Sleep. I have extra copies. This is yours. That is super delightful to be able to do. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us even further, you can by becoming a Tested member. Details are, of course, below, but it includes all sorts of perks, and we're building them all the time. You get advanced word and behind-the-scenes photos of some of our projects. Questions, you get to ask direct questions during my live streams, and we have some members-only videos, including the Adam real-time series of unbroken, unedited shots of me working here in the shop. They are weirdly meditative. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.